All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the wonderful world of mathematics, where math is life and life is math. I hope everyone enjoyed your Memorial Day time with family and friends, or maybe just getting some rest, catching up on some stuff. I certainly had a good time with my family as well. And here we are. Here we are in week 9. All right. So I am going to go ahead as we usually do and post the ground rules in the chat. So give me a moment while I do that. Okay, ground rules are posted in the chat. Can someone who hasn't read it yet unmute yourself and read the ground rules? Someone who hasn't done it yet. Can you all hear me? They're in the chat. Don't be shy. Charlene, are you thinking about doing it? You can read the ground rules in the chat. Okay. What about Rebecca? Someone.
Can you hear me?
Ground rules, join the office hours via course announcements section in Moodle. Take notes during the live session. All are muted, so unmute yourself to ask a question, then mute again. Be optimistic, open-minded, and engaged. Be respectful of other course participants. Share your video with the class as much as possible during the live session.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I appreciate that. All right, so as we move into the phase icebreaker where we get to know something about each other, I want you to right now think about one book that has been impactful for you. So I'm going to type it in the chat. Think about one book. Okay. One book that's been impactful to you. Doesn't have to be the best book, but if you can think of one book, and I'm going to go ahead and type mine. My book was The Souls of Black Folk. That book I read, it's by W.E.B. Du Bois, or Du Bois, however some people choose to pronounce it. That book, I read that book in high school, and it was very impactful for me when I was getting ready to leave California and attend a historically Black college in Atlanta, Morehouse College. So, okay, so I got my book posted. All right, we don't have to know the author necessarily, but some of us may get some ideas. We may get inspired to maybe take a look at some of these books. All right, I see it on fire, The Alchemist. 1984, all right, yeah. World War Z, okay. All right, all right. So I'm going to wait about another 30 seconds. Give you some time to think about it. And okay, we're doing good. Okay, I think we got some, okay, of Mice and Men. Thank you. Yes. I remember that. All right, everyone. Very good. I am going to post we haven't done a poll in a while. So we're going to do a poll, Google poll, and I'm going to post it in the chat. And here is it's posted. If you all could click that poll, it will not take very long. And I'm going to monitor completion. So this poll is taking a look at how you intend to prepare yourself for your math final, okay? It's only about 3 good questions. And some of them, they say check all that apply. So if it says check all that apply, you can check more than one box. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and monitor the completion to make sure everybody is completing it. So give me a moment. Okay, let's see what we got here. I see the responses are coming in. That's great. We got 8 responses. And let me see how many people we have in attendance. So we have quite a bit now. They're coming in. We got 16 or 15. So everyone, we're going to go ahead and wait and give everyone some time to complete the poll, okay? Okay, we're waiting on 5 more. Said post the poll again. Do you mind sending the poll again? It's posted in the chat. Sarah, if you can look in your chat box, the link for the chat. How do you get to the poll? You go to your chat box and click the web link where it says complete the poll. You can't see the chat before you log on. Okay, so Brenda provided some help. All right. Crystal, Brenda, can you reach out to Crystal as well? Maybe give her some direction or post something. Crystal said you got it. Okay, let me go and check and see. Okay, we got 11 responses. So I'm waiting on, I think 3 more. So we'll keep waiting. All right, I'm going to go ahead and we're waiting. This is pretty important. So we're waiting on about, I don't know, 4 more people. Okay. 2 more people. All right, we're almost there. I'm going to go ahead and play a little music. I don't know, while we wait. We're at All right, I think we're just about there. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the session. So I want to take some time to talk briefly about the final in week 12. So I want to encourage you to watch the weekly overview video for week 9. In that video, I talk more about some recommendations on how to prepare yourself, for this final coming up. Remember, the purpose of the final is to provide you an opportunity to demonstrate what you know and understand, demonstrate your problem-solving skills, and maybe show us what you may need a little more support on or may need to practice more on, okay? So it's a diagnostic in a sense. It's an assessment. It provides you and me some information about where you are based on what's been covered. So I don't want to go into so much information about that now because I talk about it in my overview video for week 9. So be sure to watch that, all right? And let's go ahead and get ready to move into, let's see, I'm going to share this, where we are for this week 9. So our big idea is statistics, okay? Also known as data analytics. That's the new phrase we hear a lot. My son is, he's heavily interested in data analytics. And both my son and daughter have taken classes around that. So it's a popular phrase. Well, what we're going to focus on this week, we're going to look at different types of graphs. We're going to look at bar graphs, circle graphs, line graphs. We're going to also take a look at measures of central tendency, mean, median, and mode. We will make some conjectures, all right? And I think we're dealing with that in your discussion prompt this week. A conjecture is when you make an observation and then you draw a conclusion based on that observation, okay? So we're going to have some fun with statistics. Now let's go ahead. So we're going to look at some frequency distributions and some histograms, bar graphs. We're going to work on actually constructing a bar graph. If I have time, I will show a simulation where you can also use a website to construct a bar graph. And then we'll get into some probability, all right? Some basics of probability. So I think I want to start off with some problem solving first. But before I get started, is there anyone who has a question? If you do, before we get started, unmute yourself. Now is the time before we get started with our problem solving. Anybody with any questions? Okay, I'm going to mute my, oh, go ahead.
So for the Alex, I don't think I was able to retake knowledge checks. I think they were locked last time we took the midterm.
Really? You said it was locked for the knowledge check?
Checks, I think they were.
All of them?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me make a note and check on that with the team.
Yeah, I wasn't able to use them to study. I had to go use the review function, I believe.
Okay. So there's a review function. Okay. Where did you find the review function, Brenda? Hello?
Sorry, I was muted. It was towards the top of the list, and I think it just says review and learn. And in that section, you just go over a couple of problems that either you want to review, and then it goes over new sections as well. And you kind of have to pick what you, from like a section of topics, you have to pick out what you want to go over.
Okay, okay. All right, so I will check on that. Has anyone been able to go back and retake any knowledge checks? Because you're supposed to be able to take them more than once. Is there anyone who's been able to do that? If so, please unmute yourself. Okay, so it seems no one has done that. All right. Okay, so Brenda, I'm going to check on that. That it seems like it's locked.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So I will respond via Moodle. Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
Brenda.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, give me a moment. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself while I set up everything for problem solving. Matt, can you hear me? And can you see the whiteboard?
You hear me? Yeah.
Hold on. Give me one moment.
I can hear you too.
Let's see. Matt, can you hear? All right. Let me see.
Me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I just had to plug in my headphones.
Okay. So let's see. I got a few people in the chat responding as well. Let's see. They say, can't see the whiteboard, but if they can hear me. Okay, hold on. Let me work on that. Can you see the whiteboard now?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Technology is rolling. Okay. Thanks, Matt, and everyone else.
Hi, sir.
Feedback. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. So first thing I want to do, I think, is I want to start with constructing a bar graph. So I'm going to move to the digital part of a simulated website. See if I can find that here. All right, and then I'm going to share this. Let's see, where is it? Okay, here, I think this is it. All right, everyone should be able to see this. This is a website. I'm going to post this website into the chat. And in case you want to go and practice with it, I'm going to call it a simulated bar maker or online bar graph maker. Okay, so I posted into the chat. That'll give you some time to maybe click on it and bookmark it. You can play around with it at home. As you can see, the key components of a bar graph, you always got to have a title. You see the graph title right here. And then you label the X and Y axis, or the horizontal and vertical axis. I am comparing the ultrasound exam types and the frequency on the vertical. And where it says data labels, you leave that alone. You don't put anything there. Where here, where it says data labels, you can type ultrasound if you want. Here you click on that and you select, I selected 5 bars because I have 5 different ultrasound exams. But if you want to just make one for 3, you can change it to 3 bars. And then here where it says bar data values, that's your frequency. So you enter I entered 3, 3, 2, 4, and 2. And then you click this graph where it says draw the graph, and then it generates the graph at the bottom. So let's examine this bar graph. All right. What makes a bar graph is that the bars are not touching. As you see the white space in between each bar, that implies that the bars are not touching. When you have a histogram, the bars are touching. But when you're making a bar graph, what makes it different is they're not touching. So that white space that you see implies that they're not touching. And then we have our exam types at the bottom. And then usually some bar graphs you can put the exam types at the bottom here, but we have a key, a color-coded key right here. So as you can see, when I hover over it, it says there were 3 breast ultrasounds, 3 abdomen ultrasounds, 2 pelvis, 4 obstetrical, and 2 thyroid. Okay? Anybody have a question? You're going to learn how to use this if you play around with it. Okay, so I posted the link in the chat. So be sure to play around with it. Okay. Let me see if anybody has any questions. All right. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So again, it's a bar graph maker. And I'm going to actually show you how to generate this bar graph on paper, but I wanted you to be able to see that you can also generate the bar graph online with a bar graph maker. And notice you can create a line graph and even a pie chart as well. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the whiteboard for some problem solving. Okay. All right, everyone. So I'm on the whiteboard right now. I am assuming that everyone can see it. And let's see here. We're going to go ahead and get started. So let's start with constructing a bar graph. Okay. So let's see, here we are. It says 14 adults entered a medical clinic within a 3-day period requiring different types of ultrasound exams. Here are the results of the exams. So you see the different, if you notice, if you count, you're going to count 14 exams, okay? And some of them are repetitive over a 3-day period, all right? And so our challenge is to construct a bar graph based on the data that's provided. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a frequency table, and that's good. We're going to show you how to make a frequency table, and then we're going to take the data from the table and construct a bar graph. So let's go ahead and construct that table. So I want to give myself some room for okay. And I'm going to have your frequency table here. Frequency. Can anyone unmute yourself and tell me, what does the word frequency mean? Someone. What does the word frequency mean? All right.
the rate at which something occurs.
Right, right, right. How many times something happens or an event. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so here we go with the frequency table. Now, I am going to have 3 columns, okay? In this column here, I am going to have the exam type, okay? And then I'm going to have tallies. This is where the tally is going to go. And then we're going to have our frequency. Our numerical values will be there. So I can spell that word right. All right. Okay, so we have that. Let's go ahead and put some data in this table. All right. So notice we have, and I'm pulling the exam types from here. So we have a breast exam, we have abdomen, we have the pelvis. By the way, I created this problem, so I hope you enjoy it. Obstetrical and thyroid. Okay, let's go ahead and separate this information. Okay, now what you do is you count. I'm going to count and cross off, okay? So I have 1, 2, 3 breast exams. So that gives me 3 tallies, 1, 2, 3, and the number 3. Let's see. And notice I'm crossing them off. For abdomen, I have 1 here and 1 here and 1 more here. So we got 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and then 3. And for pelvis, we have 1 and 2. So we got a tally of 2 and the number 2. And for obstetrical, notice we're making conjecture. Several people were coming in for an obstetrical exam, okay? What does the word obstetrical mean? What is that referring to? Anybody? Obstetrical, what is that referring to? Somebody, help me.
It could be relating to like pregnancy, childbirth.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. And then for thyroid, we have 2. Notice I have everything crossed off. I do that because it's just a double check to make sure I account for all of the elements or the exam types in here, okay? So here we are, we have our frequency table. Now let's prepare to generate the bar graph, okay? All right, so I'm gonna use a different color marker here. We always wanna have a title for your bar graph, just like you saw in the online version. So I'm gonna call it a 3-day period. And you can create your own title. It doesn't have to be this. Ultrasound exam types. Ultrasound exam types. All right. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and begin to construct the bar graph. All right. Sorry about the spaghetti lines. All right. Work with me. So we have our, we can say X and Y axis, if you will. This is vertical, horizontal. I don't know. I'm going to do better than that. So that looks better. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and label the axes, okay, if you will. We're going to label the axes. So what we want frequency always vertical. So I'll see if I can write, okay. That's frequency. And we want our exam types horizontal. Okay. Now, notice that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different exam types, right? So let's see here. Hold on one second. Checking something. Okay, that's good. So we're going to go ahead and make 5 lines for each exam type. And I'm going to kind of spread them out as equally as possible. 4 and 5. And then I'm going to scale the axes here. So now, sometimes you may need to scale the frequency by 2s, by 3s. In this case, I'm going to do it by 1. So I'm going to make that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just label the first and the last, okay? That implies that each one represents, each hash mark here represents 1. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and construct the bars, okay? Let's start with the breast exam. And what color do I want to use? Okay. So for the breast exam, we got 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to draw my bar like this, and I'll try to make them, about the same width. And also, as you can see, for the abdomen, it's 3 as well. So I start here. Okay, I'm walking you through the steps. Notice how the bars are not connected. That's for the bar graph. Okay, now for the pelvis, it's 2. So I'm going to go up to 2. For the obstetrical, we have 4. So let's go higher, right about there. I'm estimating it. Okay. And then for the thyroid, we have 2. Okay. Wonderful. So, and this is how you construct your bar graph. Okay. Generate a frequency table first. Okay. Create a title for your bar graph. Draw your vertical and horizontal axes, label the vertical is frequency, always frequency. And then for your exam types, I put them here at the bottom. Now, sometimes you can even do this. Sometimes you can put the number above the bar graph. So we're going to put 3 here, okay? And we're going to put 3 here again. We have 2. We have 4 and 2. You don't have to do this, but you can. Some bar graphs, I think the bar graphs that you're being shown in your resources, they put the numbers above the bars, okay? Just helps to communicate information. And then sometimes also what they'll do is you'll sort of see a line drawn to label it B. I'm going to just write B for the breast exam. I'm going to say A for the abdomen, P. And if you can spell it out, feel free to do that, but I'm running out of space. With the pelvis, O for the obstetrical, and I'm going to go this for T for the thyroid. Okay. Now that is a full, complete bar graph with everything labeled. Any questions? No questions? Okay, excellent. Well, I hope you found that helpful. We're going to now move into, I'm going to give you a break on this, and I want to now solve a problem involving mean, median, and mode. Okay. So let me go ahead and erase that. Everything here. Okay, so let's deal with mean, median, and mode. Let's get that heading up here. Now, mean, median, and mode. Mean referring to the average, median referring to the middle value, just like the median in the middle of a road that divides both sides. And then mode referring to the frequency or how frequent a number occurs. So I'm going to divide, again, I like to organize the problem solving board. So I'm going to divide these into three sections. Okay. Very good. And we're going to have the mean. We're going to solve the problem for the mean here. For the median, we're going to solve the problem here. And then we'll have the mode over here. So let's start with the easiest problem. Can anyone tell me, looking at this data set that we have here, you see your data set right here, 2, 10, 4, 3, 3, 7, 8, 9. What is the mode? Anybody? What's the mode?
3.
Yes, very good. We got two people confirming the same thing. So we're going to say the mode equals 3. I like to always circle the final answer. So we got that one out of the way. That's good. Now let's deal with the mean, okay? Now, when you're dealing with the mean, basically what you do is you don't have to put the numbers in order. What you do is you add up all the numbers and you divide them by the total number of numbers. So I'm just going to write it like this. I'm going to copy those numbers, but add them 2 plus 10 plus, you got 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And all of that is divided by 8. Okay? So when you get that, we get a sum of 46 in the numerator and 8 in the denominator. And when you convert this fraction to a decimal, we get a mean value of 5.75. Any questions? Any questions? I noticed some of you were talking about how there were measurements that can be taken of the circumference of a baby's head. If the doctor wanted, or if you wanted to study the circumference of the baby's head in the 4th week, you could take the average of the circumference of several babies in the 4th week and get a mean value. Look at that, the circumference of a baby's head in the 4th week. So I'm just showing you this stuff is related. Don't underestimate it. You may be asked to do something like this, okay? That's why we have you learning the math. Now, let's go into median. Median meaning the middle value. Now, let me say this. If you have an odd number of numbers, right? And sometimes I like to show myself. So let's say you have an odd number of numbers and you want to find the median. It is the middle value. So if you had 5 numbers, the median would be the number in the middle. Done. But when you have an even number of numbers, it's a little different, okay? So the first thing, who can tell me what's the first thing we have to do in finding the median? First step.
We line the numbers from lowest to highest.
That's right. We're going to order those numbers from lowest to highest. So let's go ahead and do that. We got 2, 3, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Excellent. We have the numbers from least to greatest. Who can tell me what's the next step? What do? Because there's no middle value in there that you can easily identify. How can we get that middle value? First step is put the numbers in order. Well, I want to show you. What you do is you circle the two middle numbers. So I'm going to use my fingers here, here and here, here and here, and there. The two middle numbers are 4 and 7, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and underline those two numbers, all right? And what you're going to do is you're going to find the mean of those two numbers. In other words, you're going to add those two numbers and divide it by 2. So that's what we're going to do, okay? So we're going to take 4 plus 7 and divide it by 2, right? We get 11 over 2. And when we convert that, 11 divided by 2, we convert it to a decimal. We get the median equals 5.5. Okay, so let's go ahead and circle that value. Put the numbers in order, identify the two middle numbers, find the mean of those two numbers. I think I'm going to draw a line from mean to this so you know that's what you're doing. Okay? That's how you find the median. Now let's examine these two numbers. Sometimes the mode, the median, and the mean will all be the same. And sometimes they're different. But notice the mean and the median are really close together. So when we say what's the measure of central tendency, this number represents the central number, right, of this data set. The central number is the mean and median, they're very close, which is they're close to 5.5 or 5.75, okay? So that's the characteristic number, all right? Or the number that represents the central value of this data set. Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, let's move on. And now let's go on how to construct a histogram. Histogram, remember, what makes a histogram, the bars are touching. So we're going to show you how that looks. Now I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to go through the same exact steps, okay, that we go through for constructing a bar graph when we're constructing a histogram. You're going to see pretty much they're just about the same steps. It's slightly different, but just about the same steps. All right. Let me give you a chance to get your papers ready. And here we go. Here are the ages of internship students at Innovation Labs, LLC, for the year 2018. So here's a data set, and these represent the ages of internship students, okay? All right, let's see, what's the lowest number? I think the lowest age is 18, and highest age looks like it's 32. Nice little range there, okay? All right, so, but that's not what we're talking about. You can look at data in a lot of different ways. Well, when we began to construct the histogram, we are going to, again, first create a frequency distribution table, okay? So I'm going to, I like to organize the board again, so I'll have my frequency distribution table to the left, and I'll have the histogram to the right. So let's call this the frequency distribution table. Okay, let me know if I'm going too fast. And then we will have our histogram over here. Okay, now our table is going to look slightly different. All right, so between one of the columns in the table and the bar graphs, that's what makes it different. All right, but the process, I think, is pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and get our tape frequency table in there. We need 3 columns, just like last time. All right, so okay, now I'm going to call this is sometimes we call it class intervals, also known as the ages. This is where the ages are going to go. And then we're going to have our tallies. And we're going to have the frequency of the ages here. So I'm going to show you how the ages are different. We're going to represent the ages in intervals. An interval really just refers to beginning and an ending number. So notice that the lowest age is 18. I'm going to kind of point, that's the lowest age, okay? And actually the highest age is not 32, it's 33. This is the highest age. You want to do that, okay, so that you make sure that you create the intervals. This takes a little time, everybody, so be patient, okay? I want to show you how to create your intervals. Now, I am going to create intervals counting from 18 to 21. Now, you can create intervals, you could have created intervals from 18 to 20 or 18 to 22, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to create my intervals from 18 to 21. So I start off 18 to 21, okay? And 18, 19, 20, 21, that's 4. So then I'm going to start with 22, 22, 23, 24, 25, 22 to 25. Your interval should be the same, okay? And then start with 26 here, 26, 27, 28, 29, 26 to 29, and then 30. What am I going to have this interval end with? Anybody? 30 to what?
To 33?
Yes, wonderful. You got it. All right, okay. So let's go ahead and separate these values here. Looking good. And now let's go ahead and prepare to add our tallies and our ages, the frequency of the ages. So let's see. Now, from 18 to 21, now here we go. This is where we're going to be we're going to be crossing off stuff. This is where you got to be careful. Okay? All right, so from 18 to 21, I have 18, 19, 20, and 21. Let's see, anything else? There's in 20, okay. I'm crossing them out. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ages between 18 and 21. So I give myself 5 tallies here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the frequency of ages, 5. Now let's go to between 22 and 25. Between 22 and 25. And at 25, that's 1. 22. Skip anything? Oh, there's 23. So we got 3. 3 ages between 22 and 25. 1, 2, 3, and 3. This takes a little more time. You see us being very careful about this. Now, how many ages between 26 and 29? 26 and 29, 26 to 29, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yep, that should do it. So we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can somebody tell me how many do we have left between 30 and 33?
Seven.
7, you count 7? Okay, let me count. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. So that's right, yeah. So I like to cross them out, okay? So that way we know we counted for all the ages. Thank you very much. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then frequency of ages, 8. All right, now let's go ahead and construct this frequency table and see what we end up with here. So I'm just going to come up with a very easy title. I'm just going to call it frequency versus ages, all right? You can even get that simple, okay? Frequency, which we know will be the vertical, versus ages. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. That's the vertical. That's the horizontal. And we're going to have, see if I can spell this word a little better. Frequency. All right, that's a little better. And we're going to have our ages at the bottom. All right, so when you do that, that's great. Now let's go ahead and scale the axes. Now, because I have numbers from, let's say, from 3 to 8, I'm going to go ahead and scale them by ones. All right, so I'll make that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, 10 and 11. All right, so we got the vertical or the frequency axis scaled. Now let's take care of the class intervals or the ages. And I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see, I'm going to make a line like this. 1, 2, 3, and I'll go that way, 4. So here I have 18 to 21. Here I have 22 to 25. Look how much time we're spending on this problem. Here I have 26 to 29, and then I have 30 to 33. So for the bar graph, all right, from 18 to 21, I have 5. There we go. From 22 to 25, look at, watch this. I'm starting from here. 3, I have 3. Look how the bars are touching. 26 to 29, I have 5. Go up to 5. Okay, they're touching. And then 30 to 33, I have 8, which is probably right about there. And we'll go ahead and put the numbers above. We have 5, 3, we have 3, and then we have 5 again. And then we have 8, which is going to be above that bar. So I'll go ahead and write that. And that's it. That's what we got, folks. That's how you construct your histogram. So I'm going to move a little faster because I want to cover a few things. So let me go ahead and shut this down. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and share the Google slide. There are a few things I want to go through on the Google slide. So you're going to be asked to interpret a pictograph where we have the number of hybrid vehicle sales. Each car represents 4,000. It says for which state were approximately 10,000 hybrid vehicles sold. Notice we have the number of vehicles vertical and then the vehicles, the states horizontal, as you can see. Where you had 10,000, you got right about there. That's why it's circled, okay? So I'm going to zip through these a little bit just to let you know what you're going to see this week. That's where we get the 10,000 from, interpreting that graph. Here it says the blue graph represents men's enrollment and the red graph represents women's enrollment in year 2. Here's year 2. It says men's enrollment was greater. How do we know? Men is turquoise. I think that's turquoise. And you see here it's slightly above. I don't know what that is. What is that? Pink? I'm sorry. I could be colorblind. But as you can see, there were greater enrollment for men in year 2. So what we're doing is we're interpreting graphs right now. This one says consider the frequency distribution table where we created that in 2 problems. Which class has the most values? Says the 200 to 249 milligrams class has 16 data values. As you can see, this has the greatest frequency. So we're just interpreting the table and we're answering the question, which class has the most values? It's the class interval 200 to 249. Says how many values are represented in the table. The number of data values is given by the sum of the frequencies. So when you add these numbers up right here, you get 40. Okay, so it says how many values are represented? And the values that are represented are 40 values. This one says construct a histogram for frequency distribution table. Notice you have your frequency and you have your intervals. I say X and Y values. And I have the steps right here. Notice for the histogram, the bars are touching. Make an X-axis and a Y-axis label, frequency and amount of sodium. Label the axes, scale the axes. Use a table to draw a histogram, and then make sure the bars are touching. So we went through that. Now look at this. Here's a circle graph. It says what percent of the grades were A's? And we're looking at a circle graph for grade distribution. There were 6 A's right here, right? Out of how many total? When you add these numbers up in the graph, you get 32. So 6 out of 32 is 0.1875. Remember when we went over how you convert a decimal to a percent? You move that decimal to the right 2 times, and you get 18.75%. So the percent of A's was 18.75%. Let me get to probability. It says, what is the probability of selecting a patient who brushes only 1 time a day? The table shows that there are 6 patients who brush once a day. To get the total number of patients, we add all the frequencies, as I said, right? So for probability means the number of events over the total possible outcomes. So the total possible outcomes comes from this sentence, the total number of patients, which was 6 plus 10 plus 4 plus 1. So we put the total outcomes in the denominator, And then the event, which is brushing once a day, 6 patients. So we put that in the numerator. Events over total outcomes. And if you reduce that fraction, dividing the numerator and denominator by 3, you get 2 over 7. And then lastly, the probability of getting a winter cold is 3 out of 10. What is the probability of not getting a winter cold? One way to do it is say 3 out of 10 plus what equals 1. Rewrite it as 1 minus 3 over 10. Or, you know that 3 over 10 plus a number equals 1. You know that's going to be 7 over 10. So however you want to think about it. So there's a chance at 7 over 10 chance that of not getting a winter cold. 7 over 10 can be converted to 70%. Okay? Convert that to a decimal and then to a percent. So as we prepare to wrap up, here are some reminders I'm just going to have you look at for a moment. How about this one? I never lose. Either I win or learn. Chew on that, okay? I think that's something good to adopt for keeping yourself motivated. And if you have any questions, feel free to stay after. I will be available for office hours from 1 to 2 today and 6 to 7. Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, thank you. I appreciate your interaction and engagement. And remember, math is life and life is math.